Tangney.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It is my pleasure to present a petition. Normally we don't necessarily associate ourselves with petitions, but I certainly associate myself with this. And the petition says, "We, the undersigned, being citizens of Australia, request the House to do all in its power to establish an inquiry to determine the real benefits and the total costs to this nation from government spending to reduce human production of carbon dioxide, from subsidies for renewable energy and regulations limiting the use of carbon-based fuels." Now, these policies relating to climate change are costing us a fortune. One needs just look at the renewable energy target and the carbon tax to see that these policies are making many of our industries uncompetitive. Indeed, the bill that has been brought on in the House today by the Labor opposition, the Qantas bill, highlights the cost of this tax and these policies to our industry. Qantas has had to pay $106 million over a 12-month period in carbon tax. Tell me that that is something that's sustainable, that business and industry can afford. Now, the thing that we need to have a look at is some of the background to what is actually causing these policies. That is the whole climate change issue. Indeed, look at the Bureau of Meteorology. The Bureau of Meteorology stated last year was the hottest year on record. They based that on the fact that their records went back to 1910. In fact, the records go back a lot longer than that. The 1890s and very early 1900s were very hot, but the Bureau says that data was unreliable. Okay, let's accept that as being true. If the data prior to 1910 in Australia was unreliable, what does that say about other places in the world? Think of Africa and Dr Livingstone, I presume, in 1871. Well, the IPCC data goes back to 1850. How reliable is that data? Even if the rest of the planet's data is reliable, for Australasia, a huge chunk of the planet, to have unreliable data, but the Bureau of Met's quite happy using that data. You can't have it both ways. The Bureau of Met also processes or manipulates, or however you want to call it, data. This needs to be adequately explained. I'm not saying that there's anything insidious about it, but the methodology that they use needs to be explained. Why is it that processed data from a number of temperature measuring stations shows significant warming trends when the actual raw data shows flat or decreasing temperature trends? Once again, I'm not saying that it's a conspiracy, but would be good to know the methodology. Why is it that models used by the IPCC and the Bureau of Meteorology have been unable to project future outcomes accurately, and they've been changed retrospectively to reflect what in fact has occurred? Have a look, for instance, at global average temperatures. 95% of the global circulation models used by the IPCC have been unable to replicate the halt in temperature that we've seen in the last decade and a half. Over 95%. Mechanisms proposed to try to explain this halt, such as deep ocean warming sucking up the heat that would otherwise have gone to the atmosphere, neglects a few facts, such as why was this mechanism inoperative between 1975 and about 2000 when there was warming of the atmosphere? Indeed, why, given that this science is so-called settled, were these mechanisms not used prior to this halt to actually predict the halt? Why have they been unable to predict precipitation changes? Why is the signature expected of the major feedback mechanism, the water cycle, and the so-called upper tropical troposphere hotspot nowhere to be found? That is associated with a positive feedback of the water cycle. Why is it that rent seekers, like a whole lot of the Pacific Islands, such as Kiribati, talk of inundation due to sea level rise, when, for instance, Kench et al. Have found that the majority of those Pacific Islands have increased in size since World War II? Why the lack of being forthcoming with data, such as the shonky scientist Michael Mann of hockey stick infamy, Phil Jones of the Hadley CIU...
Order, the member's time has expired. The question is...